Welcome to Continue Mission Radio with Captain James McCormick. By veterans, for veterans. Guest hosts tonight are author Greg Meekin and Miss Val, our military radio gal. Continue Mission starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, 'cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. Got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back 'cause baby you're the...
Hello, America. Hello, world. It's Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. Welcome to another rapid deployment of Continue Mission on the Veteran Channel. For almost 10 years, Continue Mission has been produced by veterans for veterans. I am Val Olson, and we are streaming live from the great state of Arizona. Once again, I am here around my kitchen table with the one, the only, the Iceman himself, Greg Meekin. Okay, huddle up, everyone. We have an extra special guest today, and I can't wait to kick the show off. So let's light the fuse, buckle up, everyone, and welcome back to Continue Mission. Greg Meekin, what is on your heart today?
Val Olson, Miss Val, our military radio gal. What's on my heart today is game time. It's game time. And I didn't realize until I prepped for this show, I forgot what playing sports was all about. Game time. Not everybody plays sports. Not everybody's blessed to have played team sports. But when it's game time, dudes, it is bloody game time. Okay, it starts at the same time every day. 10 o'clock Pacific is when all the NFL games start on Sundays. And you can bank on it. And guys that are athletes, guys that have had many game times, know exactly what we're talking about. So what was interesting is today, hard start as usual, was game time for me. I didn't realize that prepping for a radio show is very much like preparing for a sporting event, a game. I've started hockey games. I've started football games at quarterback and started many other games over the years. So welcome to Continue Mission Radio on the Veteran Channel. I couldn't be more excited if I tried. And I don't even know where to begin here. Because right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have live backstage. I'm sure he's signing autographs back there, relaxing, having a good time. We have backstage Mr. Rocky Bleier. Rocky Bleier, 1970s Pittsburgh Steelers. For all the older guys out there like me, from really not only the United States, but Canada and around the world, we loved football. And in Canada, we loved NFL football. Loved it. We'd race home on Thanksgiving Day on Thursdays. It was Canada. There's no Thanksgiving on Thursdays like there is in the States. It's real early, like it's just after Labor Day. We'd race home from school to watch the Thanksgiving football game. It was Thanksgiving, all those happy things, giving thanks, but most importantly, NFL football. But I'm not going to belabor this too long because I really want to get him on stage. Rocky Bleier has been, he was a hero of mine when I was a kid growing up in Montreal in the 70s. And we loved the Dallas Cowboys. Don't tell him that. But and we love those Pittsburgh Steelers. We followed them. We followed them. We'll be talking more about that as the show goes on. But for me, and I thanked him on the air before the show. For me, it was a trip down memory lane doing my show research and prep. I watched more videos than I watched in ages. And they were videos that I saw in most cases live or while it happened. So it was very, very cool. I'm not going to belabor it. I'm going to bring Rocky Bleier on stage. As a matter of fact, just pop him up. Let's say hi. Make sure his mic is working great. His camera looks great. Rocky Bleier, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Greg. Pleasure to be with you. Val, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. I'm looking forward to the time we spent and
It's
talk
so
about
cool.
old days. And I mean old days.
Like I said, we'll be having a lot of old guy conversation today, believe me. It sounds funny, but most young people don't know who you are.
Well, I know that.
Around. Anyone under the age of like 62 and a half doesn't know who Rocky Bleier is.
But I was not taken aback, but it was like when you're talking about your preparation for this show. Man, people don't understand. It's like playing a game. It's like playing a game. You got to prep. You got to be able to be prepared. It's just not off the cuff. You just don't show up on a Thursday or a Saturday or a Sunday to play the game. You have to prep, and God bless you for being a professional in that regards.
Well, thank you so much. And the cool thing to know, Rocky, which you know too, you prepare, you game plan, you prepare, you work out and stuff, but most of the time, as soon as the whistle blows, the game plan is thrown in the garbage, and we find out who the great players are. Then we find out who the leaders are. But isn't it true?
It is true. I mean, it is. It is. So you got all week. You start preparing for that opponent. So you play on a Sunday. Let us just say Monday you got off. Tuesday, you review the films of the game before. Go over a couple changes, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you prepare for that game coming up the following Sunday. Saturday is special teams and so on, and then. But it's builds. And good coaches prepare you in the regards of when you watch the films and you hear the dialogue of the you don't understand how that team did not or how did they lose a game? My goodness gracious. I mean, they're the best team out there. How did they ever lose a game beforehand? And so you go into a game with that kind of mentality and which is the best preparation you have and being able to go out and perform.
Remember, the luckiest guys in the world are the ones who prepared the most. You notice that?
That's right.
Hey, you're so lucky. Yeah, did you catch me in training camp?
Right. Yeah, it is.
Rocky, before we start, it's just going to be awesome. I hope you have a good time here because I have some questions for you.
Okay.
We tend to not just do headlines here. Your bio, your resume, I mean, is a fixture on YouTube and the internet and all that stuff. I like to touch base on stuff maybe that people don't hear very often. I call it secrets from the inside and stuff. Before we even kind of kick it off, give me a quick story. I mentioned to you that my love for fatherhood, mentorship, and hockey, as they say, hockey or whatever you love, but fatherhood, mentorship, and stuff. And as a rule, Val and I used to ask our guests to tell a secret first thing on the air. That's your train ticket. Okay, is a secret.
That's my secret.
I gave you. And tell me a quick story or secret about your dad, about Bob. If you have one somewhere.
My father. So we have to understand. I grew up in a small Midwestern town called Appleton, Wisconsin. For those who it's outside of Green Bay, about 30 miles or so, in the Fox City area. And so I grew up in the bar business, and my father started the bar business. Actually, the little story there is my grandmother, his mother, said, "Bobby, you're going in the bar business." He was 25 years old at the time, and so she goes, "Okay, fine." So they had anyway. we got a place, got a lease on the place, and so that's where I grew up. And for me, it was always having Dad around. He was there. I mean, that's where he worked. You know, we lived upstairs over the bar. It was part of our upbringing, and kind of a work ethic did you have, because you had to be a part of taking care of the bar. So I had to clean out bottle chutes when I was young and take all the bottles and put them in cases. Then eventually we had fish fries on Friday, and then that morphed into dinners on Saturday, and then on Sunday, and then Wednesday. My goodness gracious! And so that was all part of our life, being a part of that bar, living there, serving people, taking care of needs. And Dad was always an influence along those lines. He was also kind of a guy that allowed you to do and experience your own. He wasn't there preaching or telling you what to do. He wasn't hovering over you, because he was running a business every day. But it was there in a support mechanism. They would be at the games, and not necessarily, a football dad. They were just there when they had an opportunity to do so, because they worked Friday nights and they worked Saturdays and Saturday nights, et cetera. So they couldn't make it all the games. When I was in college at Notre Dame, they would drive all the way down to South Bend from Appleton to watch the game. And then after the game, drive all the way back. And it's about a 3.5 hour, 4 hour drive to get back up there. But that was their commitment. And so you appreciated the fact that you had parents of that nature to be able to support you.
Tell you what, Wisconsin, and growing up in Wisconsin, we're talking salt of the earth back there. And that it just shows where your background is. I'd love to hear some of the stories about, imagine that, living above a bar. Bet you got some good ones.
Oh, it's right. Things that you take, for some of my best friends were on the other side of the bar. Now our bar was located 1 block from the main street in Appleton, Wisconsin. It was on the corner of Lawrence and Walnut Street, right across from Adlerbrow Brewery, which was Appleton Beer Brewery. So we had a brewery right across the street. And so guys who had worked at the brewery would stop over at Dad's place to have a beer after work or before work, or sometimes during work. But anyway, it was very convenient. And so you got to know people. The bar opened up at 8 o'clock in the morning, closed at 1 o'clock in the evening. And so there was always constant people there coming in, and you got to, you just got to know them as friends to some degree, but just as people. And so that was for my family, for my kids, for my siblings. I thought a great experience. Who else grows up in a bar, except my next door neighbor, Paul Schreider, whose dad had a bar right next door to us. And Paul and I were the same age. We went to grade school together. Now, in the grade school, you have to understand, was a block and a half away from where we lived. It was on the other side of the brewery.
In order to get a building permit in that town, you had to be. In order to get a building permit in the town, you had to be by a bar.
That's right. There was enough of them, I'll tell you that.
Same thing here. I just cannot believe how much there is on my plate that I'd like to get to today. But I call it front loaded a little bit. I want to ask you some quick things and make some quick comments. And for viewers out there, we're going to be talking a little football today too, A little football too. We have NFL Hall of Famer, Pittsburgh Steelers, Rocky Bleier. We have a national champion from Notre Dame, national championship from Notre Dame. We've got, and as a side note, and it's not a side note, it's the big note. what we do here at the Veteran Channel and on Continue Mission Radio. We have a U.S. Army veteran, Rocky Bleier, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Vietnam veteran, who spends most of his waking hours helping and promoting, assisting veterans causes. So that's coming up. Before we start, though, Rocky, on this boring football stuff, I want to ask you real quick. I want to ask you about your hockey career.
Yes,
we banned. We banned.
Okay, fine. So let's see. Now we just got to go back. You're old. Oh, okay, I mean, we're old. So I got to go back. I got to go back when we're growing up, and so I'm in grade school now. Right next to the grade school was Jones Park, and it was in at the base of the park, or at the base of the steps going down was the park. And during the winter, they would flood that whole area and make it a big skating rink. Behind it was a hockey rink for people who some. Teams that would play there. Okay, now I got to say the hockey, and I'm going to say this: hockey was not big necessarily at that time in the 50s in Appleton. You know, it was a 3-sport, kind of an attitude: basketball, football, track, and baseball that would take place. And hockey was just not a big part of growing up. Although you had pickup games, you'd play down in Jones Park, and we'd walk down there with our skates over our shoulders and a hockey stick, and try to play the game. And so it morphed into, we had 3 guys and then 4 guys, and how that goes on one side and the other side, and as you're learning how to skate and kind of play hockey at the same time, it was not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. And I can remember my ankles hurt because I think my ankles were bent inwards when I was skating at the time, trying to straighten out my skates. But it was part of growing up, as best we possibly could, play when we could. And I have to say, in all honesty, it was not a focal thing. I mean, football, basketball, baseball were more focused at that time in our upbringing and in growing up. But we did play. We did play hockey, and so it was fun to be able to do that during the winter months.
And you said you played with some of the old timers or alumni.
Oh, well, we would play pickup game. It would be down so you'd go down, and somebody there would be some high school kids that were in the same situation that I was, and we were in junior high, and so they needed a guy here, they needed a guy there. And
sure.
We'd pick a game, kind of learn the game as it was. As we progressed during that period of time. So it wasn't really an organization, but you got some older guys that you played against.
We can get to a lot of stuff. I've got some great questions for you. But usually I ask questions that no one's asked you before. Okay. So just be prepared for that. But anyhow, we're an interactive show. We're a very large platform. We get a lot of commenters. I'm gonna just bring up one. It was a comment that we received from Belleville, Ontario, right outside of Toronto.
Yeah.
Actually, Paul Bell, a gentleman named Paul Bell. He's a great writer. He's up in the Belleville, Ontario, Toronto, kind of Ottawa area, and he had said when he heard you were coming on the show, he had said, "Boy, it's really rare that someone gets a Purple Heart, a Bronze Star, and like 4 Super Bowls in one lifetime." But we also said. He's Paul Bell. Shout out to you, Paul. What he also said is Rocky was raised in a time when the guys were big and bad and tough in a very violent era that maybe the people don't see today. You want to make a comment on that as far as how tough the game was in your day, Rocky?
Well, and I don't know if we did. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we were big, tough, rough guys. It's just that the experiences that we had. So we weren't influenced by outside drama, let us just say. I mean, television was just coming of age in the 50s, and so there was only 3 channels, and it didn't come on till late at night, and we did, so all the information as we get today, from around the world, has an impact on growing up. We just grew up, and we grew up in a neighborhood. You played outside, you played pickup games, football, basketball, whatever they may be. You play hide and go seek, and so it was kind of that kind of energy that that took place. So as you know, and I feel very, as I tell people, and I'm going to explain, I feel very fortunate to have come up during that period of time. And why is that? Well, a couple things had happened within in my life, but also in the change of just nature of God. So in 1958, I'm in grade school, or I'm in 7th grade, junior high, or 8th grade. So my first year in high school is 1960. But all of a sudden, there's this baby boomer expansion taking place, and now schools have to be built. Well, they built a brand new Catholic high school in Appleton. Before that, we had to go to Menasha, St. Mary's of Menasha, and that was a drive to be able to get there. But now, all of a sudden, those kids that would have went to public schools and or maybe over to St. Mary's all gravitated towards Xavier High School, this brand new Catholic high school. And then we had a coach that came out of one of the grade schools, and he became the high school coach. I'm going to tell you this, that and it was by my sophomore year did we get into a conference. Finally, they built a conference around the schools that were being built. Those were already in existence, and so we had this new Catholic conference. And in the remaining years that we played, those 3 years, I never lost a football game. I lost 5 basketball games. We were the number 1 ranked team in the state of Wisconsin in football, and in basketball, we won the state championships. And we were ranked in a national program. So it was like, okay, not because of me, but all these other athletes from the area would come in, and the coach we had was a tremendous coach, made a big impact in all of our lives, was able to mold them into a team. And because of that is the success I just had talked about. And because of that success, and you get kind of recognized for just being a part of that team and et cetera. You get some offers, unlike today, but you got some offers to go to college and maybe play at another level. So I got regional colleges. I got the University of Wisconsin, the Big Ten colleges. I got some. And unlike today, you got a letter in the mail. If would you be interested in coming to our school to be able to play, and so on. The best piece of advice I ever got was from a patron in my dad's bar, who took me aside one day and he said, "Listen, Rock," he said, "you're going to get a lot of scholarship offers to go to some college. And every college you go visit, they're going to roll out the red carpet and show you the best of times. And so by the time you have to make a decision sometime down the line, after 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 schools that you may attend, how do you make that decision? Because they all roll out that red carpet, as I had made mention." He said, "Let me tell you this. You do this, because you decide on what school that you would like to graduate from, not necessarily play football at, but graduate, because anything can happen during your career. You can get injured and not continue to play, but your education will always be with you." And I thought, wow, that just made eminent sense. I cut it down to 3 schools, and ultimately I ended up at the University of Notre Dame. And people said, "Well, how did you end up there?" Well, because eventually, being the good Catholic boy that I was, I did what my mother wanted me to do, and that was to go to Notre Dame anyway. So I ended up at Notre Dame, and because of that, we had a brand new coach that came in, a guy by the name of Eric Parsegian. He was at Northwestern the year before, and all of a sudden he changes the course and direction. And by my junior year, we win a national championship, or we are the number one ranked team in the. Unlike today, there was no playoff games back then. It was a vote that was taken. And then this goes back to 1966, Michigan State and Notre Dame were ranked the number one teams, number one and number two, depending on what the polls were at that time. And we played one another, anyway, the game ended in a 10-10 tie. There was no overtime. There was no sudden death. Then another was just a tie. Now we had one game left, and we had to go out to we had to go to California and play Southern Cal out in California. And we beat them 51-0. And because of that, we were the number one ranked team in the voting. Anyway, so I just say that because all of a sudden you get experience because of the people that are there, the coaches and the other players. And so we win that, and I become captain of the team my senior year. And because of that success, all I'm just saying, because of that success being a part of, well, your name gets mentioned, you're recognized, and so on. And so you have to understand, I was not the biggest, fastest guy on the team, but I was a part of a very successful team. And I got some, and you have to understand the draft at that time, or I'd get cards. I mean, I'd get letters from teams. If we draft you, would you play for us? Oh, okay, fine. So I go, yes, I'll play for you, and so on. And so the draft took place, and I can remember I was in South Bend, and the draft was going on. First round, second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round. I was the 417th person picked in the draft that year. I was the 16th round draft choice. Now you have to understand there were 17 rounds. I thought to myself, well, at least I was not the last guy picked. I might have a chance to be able to make this team. And people said, well, how did you make the team back then, in all honesty? Well, and my response is, do you remember who played for the Steelers in the 60s? That's how come I made the team, because nobody played for them during that period of time.
Bro, I'll tell you what, the stories are amazing. You didn't just win a national championship. You won championship. You won with Notre Dame. Notre Dame. You weren't just a Catholic guy. You went to Notre Dame. We were joking in the pre-show. I said, folks that are really devoutly Catholic, and I know a lot of them growing up in Quebec and French Canadians and stuff, they're the only people that actually tell you that they're Catholic. You know what I've never once walked up to someone and say, "Hi, my name is Greg Meekin. I'm a Protestant." But very briefly, you gave me a little bit of the bio, your Catholic bio, really, where your upbringing and schooling and stuff. Go through that real quick and let people know that you're not just a Catholic. You're a really practicing Catholic. Go ahead.
Well, that becomes part of it, because when you're going to a Catholic grade school, as I had mentioned before, a block and a half from my house, and the church was only a block from my house. But anyway, being there, it becomes part of. So now all of a sudden, we go to mass every morning because you had to, on the way to school. And so then I became an altar boy, and I would, be a part of that organization, doing masses every day or attending it, and then obviously on Sundays as well. And then that progressed into, a Catholic high school and taught by the Christian Brothers. So they're very impactful within your life and the choices you made, but somewhat very realistic in how they approach that. So it has always been a part of my life and my belief and my structure and how important it is within our lives to have some sense of value and relationships, but also understanding, the boundaries in which you can and should operate.
And bringing structure and, as you say, a core belief as you move forward in life. Very practical things that we can do every day. What I'm going to do, if this is okay, Val Olson, I'm going to have you do, if this is okay, is to do a little housekeeping here. We're about a half hour into the show. Where did the time go? But do a quick little, just let people know who we are, the platforms we're on, what we're doing today. And I'm seeing there's some comments as well coming in on YouTube. Give you 2-3 minutes here. Just go single screen and just give everybody a recap. Rocky and I can take a few minute break here and just go ahead, let everybody know where we're streaming from and everything else.
What an honor to have Rocky Bleier here today. And I'm so excited to get into where we're leaving off with him, just talking about the structure and the importance and what the role faith plays in your life. So we're going to get into that, but we want to welcome all of our guests that are joining on the Veteran Channel. We are featured on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Roku, of course, Greg Meekin's YouTube channel and Facebook page. We're streaming live there right now, and we're going to get to your comments. We love you all, our guests that are joining all around the world, because we are streaming practically everywhere. So if you missed the show live, no worries. There are 24/7 replays on most platforms. The Veteran Channel is supported by our viewers. So we are commercial free with no paid advertisers. Go to gregmeekin.com and click donate. All proceeds go directly to support the Veteran Channel. And to our guests that are chiming in, we're streaming all over Facebook. I see that we have guests joining from Turkey this morning. And also a comment here going out to Rocky. Speaking of games, you should play NES Where's Waldo on hard mode. So I don't know how you would play that. But he also says, Zohab Jamal 876 says, can I join? So he wants to join your team, Rocky.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Val. And we're gonna talk football. A lot of folks, the reason why you're here and stuff, people want to know about you, Rocky. They want to know your Vietnam service, okay, and what you went through, what you came back from. For folks, just to catch folks up really, really quickly, who Rocky Bleier is. We've touched on quite a bit of it already, but Rocky Bleier was you were of course, a Notre Dame University football player, national championship champion, but you went to the NFL and you were in the NFL playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you got drafted, a different kind of being drafted. And you went, and a side note is you would have been offered an officer position, but you went in the infantry. That's a side note. But you went and you got your butt kicked over there. That's what happened. Right. You got a Purple Heart, got a Bronze Star, and the big thing in the story that it will live forever, Rocky. It'll live forever. Was your comeback.
That's right.
And your doctor told you clearly you wouldn't play football again. I bet you some people told you wouldn't walk again. But if you would, take a few minutes for us.
Yes.
And just tell us your story.
I will.
What you do for our U.S. veterans, because you're serving every day, like the Captain James McCormick's, like the Val and me, like the so many others. Tell our viewers your story, and then we'll give you some more questions.
I will do that. Just as you roll up on those pictures, a little side note, which is that there's a couple of pictures that I had of me in Vietnam. and so on. And the reason was there's only a couple is that I had about 7 or 8 rolls in my rucksack that I had not yet sent home on the day we ran into enemy activity and so on. So somewhere in over in Vietnam, maybe if somebody found them, it could be in some museum. Pieces found of old pictures of they may be there, but anyway, so I lost all. So these are only several pictures that I have left of that memory. But anyway, as I left off talking before, and I was with the Steelers and made the Steelers, and I got a chance to play that season, that rookie season, 10 of 14 games. And as we well know, it was 1968. It was the height of the war that was going on in Vietnam. We had our most troops over there. We had over 500,000 troops over in Vietnam. And the draft was very evident in people's lives, especially coming out of college. At that time, and you were eligible for the draft coming out of high school, you're eligible for the draft. And so a lot of people were getting drafted. Now, so I got drafted by the Steelers, and the Steelers said, well, don't worry, we'll take care of this for you, whatever that meant, meaning that hopefully they get me in a reserve or the National Guard, as a lot of young people were doing at that time to fulfill their obligation and not necessarily to go over to Vietnam. Vietnam, obviously, let's put in perspective, was not necessarily a popular war. People coming back from Vietnam were looked down upon. Some were spat upon. It was at times said, okay, change into civilian clothes, before you get off the plane or so on, so that you don't get bombarded by people and their feelings about the war. So it was that kind of thing. You weren't heroes. Nobody thanked you at that period of time. So the Reserve of the National Guard was an avenue a lot of people had taken. Anyway, time had gone by. The season started and the games are going on, and so all of a sudden, I said, hey, has anybody heard anything about getting the reserve or the National Guard? And they said, well, we're having our problems. The general retired, the congressman got defeated, whatever their contacts were, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was about the 10th game of the season, as I was saying, and all of a sudden I was sitting in front of my locker, and one of the equipment guys hollered over to me. He said, hey, Bleier, you got a letter over here. Now, the locker room, there was, like all locker rooms, lockers, around the walls, players in front of each locker. In the middle was a laundry basket and a couple tables where all the fan mail would be deposited for the players. It was a place I had never visited from the first day of training camp up through the 10th game of the season. Not when you're the 417th person picked in the draft, playing on a losing team, nobody knows you exist. My mother, God rest her soul, never even sent me a letter. But all of a sudden, as I had made mention, one of the equipment guys said, hey, Bleier, this letter over here for you. Well, I jumped up a little quickly, sauntered over the table thinking, now, who's writing me a letter? Maybe it's a Notre Dame fan that wants an autograph from a former captain. And I perused through the mail, and my God, there it was, my first piece of fan mail. And I picked it up very tenderly, opened it up, slipped out the paper inside, unfolded it. It was from my uncle. My Uncle Sam, it said, greetings. We'd like to inform you that you've been inducted into the armed services of your country. Now, that was the worst fan letter I've ever received in my life. But like everybody else who got drafted, there was no lottery back then. I was not necessarily embracing my soon-to-be current change in life. And so there was options out there. Everybody was looking for an option. My goodness gracious. Unlike today, but at that time, some people were leaving the country to do that. And some people enlisted. That was a 4-year commitment. Being drafted was only 2 years. And so all of a sudden you start looking at ways maybe to fulfill your obligation. But anyway, I fell through the cracks and I got my draft notification. As I read that letter, it said to report the next morning at 8 a.m. to the AFI stations to be inducted into the armed services. Well, that was the worst fan letter I've ever received. But anyway, things turned up, and all of a sudden the next morning, boom, I'm gone. And gone to basic training, which everybody went through, and then advanced infantry training, flew home, said hi, goodbye, got my orders to report to Vietnam. And so I got to Vietnam in May of 1969. I was up in I Corps with the Americal Division, 196th Brigade, 4th of the 31st Infantry, Charlie Company, 1st Squad, 1st Platoon. And I was a grenadier. I carried the grenade launcher. And it wasn't until August as we were up in I Corps, and there was a lot of enemy activity going on, at least from the information that was shipped down to our unit. There was a push by the Marines who were north of us, and we were to be a retaining force as they pushed the Vietnam into our area. And so we're out on patrol, and we knew the enemy were in the area somewhere. I was probably 8th in line carrying my grenade launcher when all of a sudden our point man hollered, "Gook, gook," and shots broke the stillness. And the enemy started to run, and he started chasing and pulling everybody out in the middle of a rice paddy, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this machine gun started just to level the area, and bodies were diving left and right. And I jumped into a rice paddy to the left of me, crawled on my hands and knees. There was another rice paddy below us. 4 guys were pinned down out in the open over there. And I saw where the action was coming from. I rolled over my side, breached my grenade, when all of a sudden I felt a thud in my left leg. It started to burn and bled, and I was hit for the first time that day. Now, I discharged my round, and eventually we dropped back behind into some protective area. The enemy moved forward, and we set up another defensive position. And when all of a sudden they got close enough, and I saw a grenade come flying through the air, and it hit my commanding officer right in the middle of the back, bounced off, rolled between my feet, and before I could get out of the way, as I jumped, it blew up, and then blew up through my lower legs and my right foot and my right knee. And again, we were another firefight until sister platoon fought its way down and dragged us out of there. We got to security area. Helicopters came in, took us to an aid station, went to Da Nang where I got patched up. Then I flew to Tokyo, where I spent 3 weeks in the hospital before I came back to the States, where I spent 9 months in the hospital and went through 3 more operations because of the damage that had taken place. So the prognosis at that period of time, and as I was going through rehab and being an outpatient and having things healed, was that it would not be able to get back to play the game because of the perceived damage that they thought I had taken place. But it becomes a mindset, and I really have to say this, playing the game of sports, no matter what it may be, football specifically, it's all part of, you go through, let's just say growing up, you go through injuries. I mean, let's say growing up, I don't think there's a kid out there that hasn't fallen down, come up with some pulled muscle or a sprain, maybe a broken finger or maybe a leg or knee at one time. So and one of the things that I come to learn growing up is that, that hurts, it heals, and then you're back out playing in 2-3 days or a week or a month or whatever it might be, but you're back out playing. And so that was kind of the mindset that you had and how you approach this. And as I looked at myself, I said, okay, fine. Well, you're damaged. Well, you've been hurt before. At least you didn't lose an arm or leg in this endeavor. Injured, yes, but okay, fine. It'll heal, and you start working out again, and you start overcoming those obstacles. And so being in the hospital or attached to the hospital at that time, they gave me some time to be able to start working out when I needed it. And so when my obligation was fulfilled, I had a chance to then go back to the Steelers. And I went back to training camp that year in 1970. And it took its toll. I wasn't as prepared as I thought I would be. But they kept me through training camp for whatever reason. And it was the end of the training camp when Chuck Knoll took me aside and said, "Hey, listen, we put you on. We're going to cut you and release you. And we want you to come back next year, do what's necessary, what needed to be done." And it was devastating because maybe I thought I could hang on. And the next morning I got a call from Dan Rooney, Mr. Rooney, Art Rooney's son, who was running the organization. And he said, "I'm sorry I wasn't there." He said, "I talked to the coach." He said, "For what you did for our country, I'm going to give you an opportunity, and we're going to put you on injured reserve, have our doctors take a look at you and see what needs to be done." And they bought me a year. And I came back the following year, a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. I made the taxi squad. So really, they bought me 2 years to heal, 2 years to get, as I had said, to get stronger. And by 1972, I came back again, a little bit stronger. And I was leading ground gainer during the exhibition season. Now, we played 6 games during that period of time. Good enough to make the team, never carried the ball the remaining part of the season, but hey, better than the year before. And I came back again the following season, a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, leading ground gainer again during the exhibition season. Thank you very much. Got to carry the ball once during that season, better than the year before. And then all of a sudden I thought, let's be honest, I came back, and I struggled to make the team. I finally got 5 years of credit towards my retirement because of their good nature and so on. I thought maybe my life's going in another direction. And so after that season in 73, I left the team to find my life's work. I ended up in Chicago working for the insurance agency at the time. When I got a call, and I think this becomes very important because we have this happen in our life. I got a call from a teammate of mine, Andy Russell, who was captain of the Steelers, and he was coming into Chicago. He said, "Let's get together." I already made the decision I wasn't going back, and so I declined very politely. He pushed, and I declined some more. Then he asked me that question, "Why?" And the only thing I could blurt out was, "Well, I quit. I'm not coming back, Andy. My life's going in another direction." And he said, "You can't quit." He said, "If you quit, think about it. What you have already done, you've already made a decision for that coaching staff. Do you like them well enough to make decisions for them?" He said, "No, your responsibility, if this is what you want to do, is that you come back and you make them make a decision. You back them in their corner. You give them every reason to either keep you or release you. But God, you don't cut yourself. The reality of this life is that we're all expendable. The reality of this life is we all can be cut at any time. But if this is what you want, then you don't cut yourself." And maybe it was just the arm twisting I needed from an older brother I didn't have. And I went back. And everything that I had received did take place. And I had to fight with every free agent, draft choice, and rookie once again to be able to make the team. Leading ground gainer during the exhibition season. Thank you very much. Now, the reason I tell you that I was a leading ground gainer wasn't because of the fact I was bigger, faster, or better than all the other running backs. It was the simple fact that I played more than anybody else. During that period of time, I carried the ball more than anybody else during that period of time. Given those two simple statistics, I better be the leading ground gainer during that period of time because all they were providing for me was an opportunity to make the team, and they had to keep me. and I was the 5th running back out of 4 at the beginning of the season, back playing special teams. When unbeknownst to us, Franco Harris, our starting fullback, gets hurt. The backup becomes the starter. I become the backup to the backup. Wow. I hadn't been there before. So with renewed vigor, first game, second game, third game, fourth game, the backup gets hurt. And I'm inserted in the game, along with my running mate, a guy by the name of Preston Pearson. He finished his career with the Dallas Cowboys. And I tell you this only because right before the half, he scooted 43 yards down the sideline, scored to give us a lead. Now we're going on halftime. We go over assignments adjustment. And I'm thinking to myself, who's going to start the second half? Maybe those guys that got you the lead in the first half, and we get to start the second half. And as a team, we win that game. Following week, everybody's still banged up. So Preston and I get to start. And as a team, we win that game. And the week thereafter, it's a Monday night game. An extra day of healing. Franco, well, now becomes healthy. Damn. But that's okay. At least I got a chance to play, show, prove what we could do. And prior to the breakout of that team, Chuck Noll said, or our backfield coach actually said, listen, Rock, you and Franco will start tonight. Momentarily after understand, I was quite confused. I didn't know how we both could play the same position at the same time. When it finally dawned, I was going to play the fullback position. I was going to play the other running back position. Nobody told me that. I wish they would have. I'd been better prepared getting into the game, but we got a chance to start that game. And as a team, we won that game. So we get to start the following week. And as a team, we won that game. And we started remaining part of that season. Bradshaw, Franco, and myself. And my God, we win the division. And we go to the playoffs. And we win the playoffs. And we go to the Super Bowl for the first time. And we win the Super Bowl. And I play 6 more years. And we win 3 more Super Bowls. And in 1976, Franco and I became the second set of running backs at that time in the history of the NFL, each to gain 1,000 yards rushing apiece in the same year. And after 12 years, I retired. Now, I tell you that context because that is the story, and it's about not giving up, having a focus, doing what is necessary in your life to be able to get to that point. Working out, getting bigger, getting stronger, and having a sense of commitment. I had a small price or a piece in which I operated. Franco was our biggest running back, and I was just part of that backfield. But be able to be a starting running back within that team was the greatest thing that ever happened.
It was amazing because we watched all those Super Bowl years really, really closely, and the thing that surprised us at the time was that you and Franco nailed 1,000 yards.
Right.
Last time it was done was Larry Zonka, Mercury Morris, good old Dolphins. We followed them closely too, because we always perceived you, I think, correctly as a blocking back, a fullback style. And boy, I'll tell you what, you smashed some face out there, Rocky, as a blocker, dude. Dude,
I find a lot of being able to do something to be able to fit into that.
Yeah, but because we'd pictured you as, again, that workhorse, and to see you and Franco both as 1,000-yard rushers was really cool, and we noticed it because it was so far beyond what our kind of label of you was, that
right.
utility. And a total side note too. A lot of people don't know. I watched Franco Harris play for the Seattle Seahawks for the last year of his career.
That's right, you did.
He did nothing, but I'll tell you what. I was gonna tell you this too, Rocky. We really respected Franco out in Seattle. He did no numbers, of course. It was the twilight of his career and stuff. But we really respected him, as we would you, just for your body of work in the game.
Yeah.
So Franco Harris could just stroll out onto the football field in Seattle, and they'd applaud him, honestly, just for his body work, just like you. Take a minute, if you would. I want to switch gears a little bit and take some time. Take as long as you need. Tell me about your family, Rocky. I mean, you are a true family man, going all the way back to Wisconsin. It takes as long as you want. Tell me about your parents, your wife, your kids. And what they mean to you,
It's so growing up, as I had made mention before, and I talked to you about being in the bar and talking about the Midwest and values, that were there, and family was a big part of it. And at that period of time, so I had my grandparents that lived like 3 blocks away, and I had my uncles that lived in town, and then my cousins, and so we kind of all grew up to some degree, getting together for those periods of times where the families would gather for the 4th of July and in birthdays and holidays, and so that was always a part of it. And I come to Pittsburgh, and then ultimately get married and raise I get 2 kids, they're my older kids, I should say. And so I have a daughter that lives in Hawaii, and so she's the oldest. And then my son lives here in Pittsburgh. And then I got remarried, and I had the good fortune of having two younger girls, Ellie and Rosie, and they're 27 and 26 years old. And so I've got them on both sets. I get grandkids from my older kids, and so they're always great to be able to have that experience and be able to share it. And so I was very, very fortunate, and Pittsburgh is home, and I made it home. And so it's very comfortable, and so I get to tell lies to my grandkids, and how great I really was, and and team would have never gotten those 4 Super Bowls if it wasn't for me and Franco. My goodness gracious, if I didn't block for him, he would have never got all those thousands of yards.
You ever heard the expression, the older I get, the better I was?
That's very much so. And especially when you're telling the story.
Oh, big time. Ex-athletes, ex-jocks, man, they're great. No, it is fabulous. I have a quick question for you too. This has been on my mind because I have a plethora of just kind of generations that I work with, and I know a lot of older athletes, like I mentioned to you, the hockey guys and stuff from up in Montreal, and we're talking back to the 40s, 50s.
Right.
I want to just say to everybody out there, Dak Prescott for the Dallas Cowboys quarterback makes $60 million a year. There are now 11 quarterbacks in the NFL that make over $50 million. I want to just ask your opinion, and just as shall we say, older gentleman, what your view is of just money and salaries in the NHL. The old hockey guys back in the 50s and stuff, they had to work summer jobs.
That's right.
They had to work summer jobs. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I still can't believe those numbers. And just what do you think about it, Rocky?
Well, part of my feeling is that when you have a 22-year-old kid, they're just coming out of college or whatever it is, he's had a great career along the way, and or later, but in that kind of generation, is that kind of money, as you will always like, oh wow, how come I didn't get any? But it's like you can only what is your value? You're 22 years old, you're 23 years old, you're 24 years old, you haven't done anything except in college and so on. You got a potential coming up and so on. And somebody says, okay, we're gonna pay you X amount of millions, to sign a contract here. You don't have to work for the rest of your life. And your value is around that monetary base, I believe. How good are you? Well, they're paying me $20 million a year. I must be pretty damn good, in this, rather than having to work for or be within the means of what your value truly is. And so that kind of blows things out of proportion in what you have. And so to some degree, you may feel fortunate, but other degrees is that you go, oh, so I'm better than anybody else because of the money that they pay me, and I can remember when I came into the league and my first contract was I signed a 2-year contract. As I said, I was so what was the 17th round pick. But anyway, for $15,000
Oh yeah.
a year.
Oh yeah.
I played, but I'm going, oh, hey, that's not bad. Well, $15,000 a year. School teachers were, making maybe $3,000, $3,500 a year. Coming out of college, you might get a job for $4,000. Middle management was making, maybe somewhere between $7, $8, and maybe $10,000 a year. But they're paying me $15,000 a year, but so it wasn't huge, but you go, okay, fine. It was average or a little better than average, but when you jump into the millions, it kind of throws things out of proportion.
I want to ask a question too. You glossed over it a little bit when you were talking about your bio. I want to talk about when you gave up. Cap McCormick and all of our circle, we always say, never give up, never surrender. You had a point in your career where, again, it's where I think you sold life insurance, right?
Yeah.
But you gave up and at least said, okay, closing that chapter of your history. I've heard this a number of times, but what it took you to get back and why did you decide to get back? You told that great story about Andy, but go ahead and relay just that episode.
Well, and I think sometimes you need to you need to have a push. You need to have an outside influence, to be able to, you rationalize your own life and of decisions that you make. And I was just thinking to myself, okay, fine. I wasn't playing. I was a part of a team, and I was playing special teams. So they helped me. They got me. I got 5 years credited. We can't take that away from me. So there's a little retirement benefit for that later on in life. And so I didn't have any clear-cut idea of where I was going to go. I was working in the insurance business as we did at that time. The important thing, and I really do think, is that sometimes you just need someone. I had Andy to help point out maybe the correct path, to be able to say, hey, you're nuts. What are you talking about? You got this going for you. Sometimes you need to have that support come in, wherever it may be. And the reality was, okay, fine. I still wanted to play. I still wanted to be a part of it. I'm over here thinking the left side of my brain, like, oh yeah, but it's not going anyplace. Maybe you should, have another career or whatever you're going to try to do. But when Andy kind of put it into perspective, that it made sense. And I wasn't finished yet to at least try to make the team.
But when you came back, it was the highest hill I've ever seen a person climb.
Well, I don't know if it was the highest hill, but the point is this, is that I knew what I needed to do. So right. That was, okay, fine. And the biggest thing was to be able to get myself back in shape. So yes. As I said, so by 72, 73, by 1973, I weighed 218 pounds. I bench pressed 465 pounds. Wow. I squatted over 600 pounds. Wow. And so I got my body weight, my strength. And the fact is that I worked on perceptions. Okay, what are perceptions? Perceptions at this time is, how much can you lift? How strong are you? And how fast are you? Everybody got 40 times. And what's your 40 time? What's your 40 time? Not that you ever run a 40, but it's a guideline. And so all of a sudden it becomes important to you. And I had to. So and you think about it. It's not what you do on a playing field. It's not how you run. But now you become a sprinter. Now you are a track person. Now you're trying to run the 40-yard dash or 100 meters. But anyway, a 40-yard dash for time. And so it all is a part of not what you do on the playing field. It's all a part of getting that time. So it starts. It's on starts. Getting out of the blocks, getting out of your 3-point stance, and then working on techniques. Well, most ball players, who have not had any track experience, run on natural ability. You get lateral movement one way, you go body control, then you get speed if you have speed, and so on. And all of a sudden, that 40-yard time can become an excuse for you not to make the team. I'm a coach. All of a sudden you go, man, he lost a step. He only ran a 4.740, or you only ran a 4.8, or you ran a 5 flat, 40. I don't think he's going to be able to make this team. That becomes a mindset. Now, all of a sudden you got to change that mindset. How do you do that? Well, you got to get a pretty good time. So I worked on my starts. I worked on my 40-yard time. I got a coach to give me some ideas on, how do you run it? And I worked on it. And so I came back to training camp and I ran the 40. And I ran it in 4.55. I ran it in 4.5, 4.55, 4.6. Okay, so that was now. I never ran it after that. I never ran it again, and because it had really nothing to do with what you do on a football field. And but it erased maybe some thoughts that they had about your lack of speed or whatever it might be. So that became very important as a mile marker in what you could do. But I worked at it. I worked at it to be able to just to be able to get that 40 time down. And so that becomes part of what you sometimes have to do to be able to change perceptions and how people perceive what you can do if you don't happen to have natural speed or quickness.
The common word through all of this is work, even if you don't feel like working.
Basically, because everybody needs to work on somebody or something, and whether you're a big offensive lineman, it is how quick your feet are, your drop, your contact with the opposition, body control, and so on. All those things become important. Not necessarily that you're 330 pounds,
Sure.
but how do you position yourself and work on that drop step and blocking at the same time.
Yeah. To listeners out there, you know that your life has been impactful if they make a movie about you. 1980. I'm just dying to ask you this. 1980, they made a movie about you.
Right.
And Robert Urich played you, but you also consulted on the film. I'll bet you were in everybody's back pocket through that whole movie. But tell me about that experience. Tell me about Urich. Urich, did he do a good job? What was your impact in the movie?
Well, yeah, so there was a possibility that, about doing a movie, about doing a not a made-for-television movie that came up as a ABC Monday night movie of the week or so on and so on. And so So anyway, so we agreed to do that, and Bob Urich was picked to play the position. Now, the understanding about Bob was that he was a football player. Bob had played football, and he was from. I'm trying to think of where Bob was from, New York. Anyway, and so there was a lot of, so there were a lot of similarities, I should say, a lot of things that, so he was part of that. He was good. And as I tell people, he said, well, he kind of looked like me, tall, good looking, a lot of hair. And so anyway, if somebody's going to be you might as well be a good looking guy.
That's why I call it the movies, right? That's what they call it, the movie.
But it was a fun experience, and yes, they did. They were kind enough to allow me to be involved to some degree about the story and the storyline, and and talking to Bob, and he's just was just a wonderful person, a wonderful guy, and we're relatively the same age, and so that experience was terrific. And I remember Dan Tana. He played Dan Tana on television, and so I watched that all the time. So anyway, it was very fortunate.
Well, to folks out there, that's still on YouTube. That's playing on YouTube, full movie, and I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
And to let everybody know, just search Rocky Bleier on YouTube sometime. Seriously, there are videos that took me back. I'll tell you what. But again, your work, your highlights, and what you do today is out there. Touch base. I want to touch base with you real quick on young people. Imagine that, Rocky, young people today. Yeah. I brought this up in our last wonderful show, the roundtable that we had, Veterans Roundtable with you guys. But youngsters today, I'm obsessed about the generations. We got the Generation Zs. We got the Alphas who are in their teens now, or actually getting up into their teens. We got a brand new generation coming up. Babies that are born in 2025 and 26 moving forward are Beta generation, Bravo generation. What is your thought? What are your thoughts just on youngsters today? Are you bullish? Are you bullish on them? They get a bad rap for a lot of things, but what's your feeling, Rocky? Just touch base on that.
Well, I think, as far as the younger generation, they still have so many opportunities out there to be able to choose from. They have a lot of influences as well. Some good, some bad that has taken place just because of technology that we have and information that is driven in one aspect or another. But I think the biggest thing about it is the opportunities that exist. There's so many opportunities out there that can be taken advantage of. Sometimes it might be confusing, but from an education point of view, from a trade point of view, what you want to do with your life and where you're going to go there. And there's so many people that are willing to help. So it's really becomes a focus of what you might want to do. And there's those opportunities that exist. So if you get good influences from an educational point of view, teachers, advisors, from parents, and don't be afraid to discuss it, talk about it, and move in the direction that you feel comfortable with.
It's called mentorship. Being a teacher, our responsibility is to teach younger generations.
Yeah.
Like I've said, I'm concerned about the younger generations just in general, but I'm also bullish on them. I've seen so many youngsters now. You see, if you look around at like our firefighters, our paramedics, most of our cops and stuff, they're Gen Zs. Most of those kids are in their 20s. Yeah. And they're phenomenal. As a matter of fact, Sheriff Mark Lamb, I mentioned him to you before the show. He, of course, has spent years as a sheriff here in Pinal County. And I interviewed him a gosh, it's almost 5 years ago, and I asked him about the generations. He's a Generation X. He's now a youngster. He's only 53. He's
Yeah.
going to be running for the U.S. Congress. He's running for the U.S. Congress, by the way.
Okay.
But I asked him about this. It was really interesting because I asked him about these generations, and he had said that his contacts in the military, and talking about these special ops kids, he said, according to his military sources, millennials and some of the youngsters were the best warriors they've ever seen. They had the fighting spirit very often from their parents or grandparents, senior generation, but they're technology whizzes. So he was Sheriff Lamb was really bullish on shall I say, the younger generations who sometimes do get a bad rap.
Well,
and
you know, and I feel, you know, I feel about opportunities today and opportunities about furthering one's education, and how important, in my opinion, that the military is to give you that advantage. Now, listen, I mean, let us just say, okay, going to college is, you know, financially is difficult. I mean, the cost of going to colleges will run into, you know, thousands of dollars. Where in some respect, you know, is that being part of a military base, whether you are whether you enlist, go to ROTC, go to an academy, you know, try to, if you're from an education point of view, is that there's a certain commitment. If you go to ROTC, if you go to one of the academies thereafter, the education you get is paid for. And then you have to pay back, of course, and you get 4 or 5 years into the service. So now all of a sudden you are 28 years old and you've fulfilled your commitment. But the background, the education you got, the experiences are phenomenal to be able to be a stepping stone to go into public life or into private life from a business point of view. And I think that becomes so very important. Or becoming or making the military a career choice, you know, coming out of high school and joining the military and getting into somewhat education along the way. But going, being enlisted, you can go then to OCS, got different operations, but it's not the cost that's going to prevail if you go into private education. And so that becomes a bigger option today, I really true, for the long term and the future that, or the opportunities that exist because of that experience.
It's interesting because many times on the Continue Mission shows with Captain McCormick, and I talked about something. I published this idea probably 3 years ago called Grade 13. Grade 13, mandatory 1 year after high school and it can be, the key here is, it's kind of a paid internship. You know, even minimum wage now pays a little bit of living, but 1 year. And the option is, yes, military service, trade unions, working for companies, Peace Corps, Red Cross, whatever, for that 1 year. I call it civic service, 1 year civic service. And I mean, not even any university enrollment or anything at that point. And after that year, go for it, whatever you choose. But we've talked about that a lot. And what's your thought on it? It's kind of dovetailing what you're saying as far as taking a break there, at least how important that service is to becoming a responsible citizen.
I truly, you know, believe that. I mean, there's those options that exist when people are, or young kids are, you know, floundering of what they should do or not do or so on, is that giving them direction and support is that, you know, the military, no matter what branch it may be, gives you a basis, gives you a starting point, gives you a learning basis to move forward. and you can't take that experience away. And even if it may mean you go back to college later on or whatever it is, but it's really, it's for some people, it's just all there. It can be tied up and tied in to your life and your future, and rather than saying, oh, I don't know what to do, or I can't afford to go here, or whatever it might be, is that it's there. Take a look at it, and really look at it from a positive point of view of saying this may change my life, and allow me to give back to this country and to be a part of whatever the future may be.
I totally agree. And the skills that young people are lacking and need to be able to go into a big grown-up world. I'm going to, as a matter of fact, goodness, we're rolling along in the show here. I won't keep you up much longer here, Rocky, but I want.
Well, I hate to say, but unfortunately, I gotta go.
Okay. We older guys, that can mean a number of things, right, Rocky?
Right. Well, I understand that. I just have a 1:30
sure
meeting. I got it.
We'll cut you loose right now. And with deepest thanks. Okay, Val and I are going to talk behind your back after you leave.
Okay.
I am actually, for our listeners, I'm going to be reading the full bio, your awards and stuff.
Well,
but you don't need to hear that another time in your life, right?
Right.
But I deeply thank you, Rocky Bleier. I thank you for really making my day, my year, and maybe my life here. Because if I told you that in 1970s Montreal,
that's right,
little junior. By the way, I had 1,000 yards rushing before you did. Did you know that? No, I'm serious.
Yes, right.
Pop Warner football.
Uh-huh.
Montreal Dorval. Kid you not? No, kid you not. I'm glad I can share this with you. The older you get, the better you were. But I had this 1 year. You had that 1 year, the 1,000 yards with. I had this 1 year that was a Wayne Gretzky year, and it was in quote Pop Warner football, junior football. And get this, you're a stats guy. 6 games, 1,053 yards
Oh, gee.
on 56 carries.
Whoa.
I was a running quarterback before it was cool. Kid you not.
That's cool.
Just shy of 20 yards a carry, baby. That's in the old days. And, people say, oh, that was just junior football. I said, well, I was 300 yards ahead of the second place guy. Why do you know?
That's right. I know. It's a great thing.
It's documented. I even wrote a story about it, but 1971, baby, I had my first 1,000 yards season. So I beat you by a few years.
That's by a few years.
God bless you so much. Get off to your meetings and stuff. I'll let Val say goodbye to you. We'll cut you loose and talk behind your back. Thank you, Rocky Bleier.
Thank you, Greg. Val.
Thank you so much, Rocky, and have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm going to put your book up as you sign out of here. You can get Rocky's book on Amazon, Fighting Back, and it would make a wonderful Christmas present. And speaking, Greg, of Rocky's accomplishments, I mean, where to start? Military awards, I'm going to start there because that's so important. The Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, Combat Infantryman badge as well. I'll let you get into the sports, but wow, what an honor having him on the show today.
Thank you, Rocky. And everybody go to rockybleier.com, and it's spelled BLEIER. Go to rockybleier.com. It is an amazing website. Very nice, very well done, Rocky. It shows what you're doing now. You're a star in your own right now. Do visit Rocky's website and stuff. We'll cut you loose. Have a great day, okay? Have a great day, and thank you for being on, Rocky.
All right, I'm going to take us to his website, Greg. He signed off now, so we're going to just visit his website. For those of you that are following, I have to say quick hello to some people that are listening right now, all the way. I mentioned Turkey earlier, but one guy is saying Squad. I hope I said that right.
These are fans. Let's go to. I've seen those comments.
Fans.
Let's go to a few.
All right.
We got some crazy people in the chat today. Go to Rocky's website, and then I'm going to read through his bio stuff because it's worth at least putting it on the record.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so the comments coming in from Bodemus, he's saying squad, and meanwhile we also have another one coming. I can't translate.
Yeah.
I'll try. It's a very patriotic, my turkey. That's really what it translates to. So, and also, yo. Okay, there. I'm done with our comments. But this is managing the generations. I mean, that's what it's all about. And what Rocky shared this morning, talking about his time in serving in the military, and you could just see these transferable skills from football to military to patriotism. And when he said, "I wasn't finished yet," I was like, wow, he wasn't finished yet. He went after his dream, and that's the best part, is the reset. And how bad do you want to go after that dream? Do you want to be someone who just lets it go, or are you going to be someone who shoots for it and goes the whole way? So I loved it. Greg, back to you.
Yeah, I'll just to pour them into the record here, because we'll probably do a clip on it. I just want to just read off the amazing list of Rocky Bleier's body of work, and to realize who we've had on our show today. Rocky Bleier, military awards: Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Combat Infantryman Badge. Sports awards, these are pretty good: 4 Super Bowls, NFL Hall of Fame, the George Halas Award in 1975. That was for character in his comeback. With the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was the all-time team, Hall of Honor, and Hall of Fame for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a college national champion for Notre Dame in 1966. That's just amazing. International Sports Hall of Fame. NCAA Inspiration Award. He has 2 books out there: Fighting Back, the Rocky Bleier story. Fighting Back. Buy that off his website. You can get a really cool signed copy there. And there was a movie based on that book, Fighting Back, and it was Rocky touched on it. It was Fighting Back, the movie, and it was starring Robert Urich. And then he did another book when he came out of retirement of Don't Fumble Your Retirement. That was, by the way, that is Robert Urich on the movie portraying Rocky Bleier, Fighting Back. So thank you, Val, on that. I will, as a matter of fact, let's wrap the show. It has been unbelievable, fabulous, and I'd like to also here do a part 2 one of these days. There's so much on these shows. There's so much we talk about, but there's so much we don't get to and stuff. So I'll definitely be having Rocky back another time. I do want to thank everybody. Because his website there, Rocky does amazing things. He goes on speaking. He's doing speaking tours all the time. He's a mentor and a teacher, and there he is right there. Fabulous. Thank you for your service, sir. So I thank everybody for tuning in. Stay tuned. Again, we're on the Veteran Channel. This is Continue Mission. And to everybody out there today, I always say, wake up in kindergarten every day. There's so much to learn and so little time, because before you know it, you're in 1st grade, or in Canada, you're in grade 1. God bless you. Val, take it out. And thank you very much, Val Olson, for being an amazing facilitator of this amazing show with an amazing, amazing man, Rocky Bleier. Thank you, Rocky.
What an honor to have Rocky on the show today. He is a man of faith, and he shared today the role that played in his life. And he's speaking to our youth, and he's also speaking about his time in the U.S. military, who is actively recruiting. And right here on the Veteran Channel, we don't believe in retiring. We believe in getting back at it. So you are needed, you are wanted, and you are welcome. The Veteran Channel is featured on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Roku, Greg Meekin's YouTube channel and Facebook page, and dozens of other platforms. So if you missed the live show, no worries. You can catch up 24/7 replays on most of our platforms, but please download that app. And to our military, our active, past, present, and future, we honor you, we love you, and our law enforcement as well. We include you and our first responders right here. You have a home here on the Veteran Channel, and your mission starts now.
Welcome to Continue Mission Radio with Captain James McCormick. By veterans, for veterans. Guest hosts tonight are author Greg Meekin and Miss Val, our military radio gal. Continue Mission starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. You got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back 'cause